Am I mic'd up? Can you hear me? All right, guys, it's been a very exciting 3 days. I'm so glad that you came to Northeast Louisiana, AKA Mine and Christian's neck of the woods. It's been it's been great. It's been exciting. Gosh, we could do a whole other day, but we do have to get started. So we will call the meeting to order, and Doreen. Wait, I'm going to call the October Board of Regents meeting to order. Members, remember that we are being live streamed, so you'll need to turn off your microphones when you're recognized to speak speak directly into the microphone, so our virtual audience can hear you. We will now move to call the roll. Doreen, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Regent Aubrey.
Here.
Regent Cardell.
Here.
Regent Creed.
Here.
Regent David.
Here.
Regent Finley. Here. Regent Glazer.
Here.
Regent Hickson.
Here.
Regent May.
Here.
Regent Meir.
Present.
Regent Pryor.
Here.
Regent Reeves.
Here.
Regent Sarda.
Here.
Regent Shamia.
Here.
Regent Sterling.
Here.
Regent Temple.
Here.
Regent Williams-Brown.
Here.
LCTCS system. LSU system. Southern system. UL system. You have a quorum.
All right. Members, also as a reminder, this meeting will be held as a committee of a whole. All members will vote on each and every recommended motion. She just say that. Next up, public comments. Are there any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Hearing none, I'll ask for any additional public comments under other business. Members, you received a copy of the September 24th, 2025 meeting notes. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved. Second.
So moved by Regent May, seconded by David. Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of Board of Regents calendar. Members, you have received the proposed calendar of meetings for 2026, and they are also in our materials this morning. We will need a motion to approve the Regents meeting calendar.
Motion to approve.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
The only discussion, Madam Chair, is I share with staff that if that Tuesday is the week of Washington Mardi Gras,
And it is.
then I know that Committee 100, we have our fly-in, and several people may be involved in that. I think Regent May told me he'll probably be there as well. So we talked about it last year.
What about the Monday prior? Would that be a problem?
That'd be great.
We're saying just that, the same week, just starting it on Monday?
Just have the meeting on Monday instead?
2 days.
What date is that?
January 27th, it's under tab 4.
So,
What we can do is to make sure staff check for availability of rooms and get back to you. So if you want to, Madam Chair, approve subject to review of the January meeting, we certainly can do that.
Any of the time, we'll say between Monday and Wednesday? Monday or Tuesday? Okay, Monday's preferred, but maybe Monday or Tuesday. Okay. Great. The week of? Yeah.
Just one day earlier. Okay.
Monday,
is that
January
going to
26th.
fix the issue?
So
I'm not sure
look at
that.
both. We'll look at both.
Okay.
And then we'll get back to you all and make sure that you give you options.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any objection to the motion of the calendar? Hearing none, that motion passes. Okay. Please save these dates in your calendar for the upcoming meetings. Reports and recommendation, finance. So Regent David? Oh, I do? Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Deputy Commissioner for Finance and Administration, Elizabeth Bentley Smith, will present the higher education first year 26-27 budget request. Elizabeth, y'all take it away.
Thank you, Chair Cordell. So in your packets, you have received the information as it relates to our fiscal year 26-27 higher education budget request. As you can see, we have it set up similarly to what we've presented previously in years before. You'll see here that at present, our current budget is $1.32 billion. That is all means of financing, so that is state general fund, IAT, tuition and fees, federal funding, and did I miss one? Statutory dedications. So those are all means of financing. What we're looking at here is the request for an increase in state general fund. We will be requesting $119 million to support all of the initiatives that we put forth. And it includes funding for our specialized and our 2- and 4-year institutions. We are also requesting $24.5 million across the board and system offices. We, at this time, are not going to be requesting anything for TOPS. It is remaining flat and is decreasing a bit, so at this time, we see no increase there. We are, of course, going to be requesting additional $10 million for our need-based funding with the GO Grant program, as well as $14.5 million for MJ Foster. And I want to just let you know right now that with the MJ Foster at present, that current budget, as you can see here, is $10.5 million. They will expend all that they can to support our students within the next month. Right now, they have already expended almost $7 million in support of students. So clearly, the $10.5 million is not cutting it right now. And the work that the students that are using it are using it to the greatest degree. So what do the details look like within that budget? Again, we've got $50 million total for formula institutions. Those are our 2- and 4-year institutions. $20 million for our specialized. Those are our health science centers in Shreveport and in New Orleans, our law center at Southern, our 2 agricultural centers at LSU and at Southern, as well as the Pennington Biomedical Center. We are requesting to maintain the $50 million that we received in non-recurring line item request within the last session. And we're also going to request that any type of savings that may occur with any type of, with our mandated costs, that we're able to save those as well. Just to put that in perspective, this past year, the savings was a little over $4 million. So not much, but as you've heard the past couple of days, any little bit can certainly help. In the past, the costs for mandated costs have averaged about $20 million a year. So the state has been working at providing some payments, which have led to those savings, and also costs related to risk management have been decreasing as well. Subsequently, however, costs for OGB and civil service have been increasing. So even though those two are moving in opposite directions, there has been some savings that we would like to maintain here within higher education. Our targeted request to maintain institutional affordability will be the $20 million for dual enrollment, $14.5 million for foster scholarships, like I spoke of just a second ago. Again, $10 million for GO grants, which is support for our need-based students, as well as $4 million for the START software. As I know many of y'all are aware of the cyber incident, this is a way to ensure that we are being mindful of all of our taxpayer dollars, but also the funding that each of the over 40,000 accounts, 80,000 in total for all of the subsequent accounts as well, are being managed appropriately and are safe and secure. As well as another $500,000 to support our security operations centers that is housed at Lonnie, but we also have one at La Tech, LSU Shreveport, and it goes a long way. And with anything, costs are increasing, and this just goes to support those dollars as well. Okay, so what does that look like in total? Again, we started with $1.32 billion budget, and that would increase, the 119 would increase our budget to $1.4 billion for higher education. And this is, I also wanted to make note of the upcoming constitutional amendment that is going to be voted on in April 2026. This constitutional amendment is set to pay off the UAL debt. What that would mean is a potential $81 million redistribution to higher education, in the sense that that would be the savings that higher education would receive by paying off that $244 million, which is how much our bill is, or higher education's bill is for fiscal year 26. That 81 is not a firm number. It is the best estimate that we have right now. And you can see here that is a draft of what the redistribution would look like for that $81 million. So with that being said, we're also requesting some one-time funding. The large number at the top, the 175, would go to a tremendous, it'd go to helping our institutions and really our systems become more efficient and watchful and mindful of their institutions. By bringing all of the institutions onto single ERP platforms within each of the systems, that allows the system offices to see what their spending rates are in real time. So it's a much more efficient way of processing and really leads to stronger accountability, which is a key to success. We're also looking at requesting $20 million for workforce. As you know, there has been an executive order that has come out by Governor Landry, and it is essentially a strategic plan for the state. And the LED Secretary and Louisiana Works, as well as Commissioner Reed, are working collaboratively across the state to really develop a very cohesive plan and a cohesive state strategic plan. And with that, part of it is to provide workforce funding and aid in workforce development. And so this would provide $20 million across all of our 2- and 4-year institutions. We're also requesting $5 million for campus security funding and cyber program development. This is the work that Regent Aubrey spoke about this morning as it relates to the Cyber Education Management Council initiatives, as well as the Cyber Academy that is housed at Bossier Parish Community College. Following that, we're requesting $5 million for campus safety. This is not just physical campus safety, but also cyber campus safety. It continues the work that was done by NCBRT, where they walked every single square foot on every single campus for the past 2 years, did some deep dives into what the needs are at each of our institutions, spoke with students, spoke with leadership. It was a tremendous, tremendous work and highly supported by all of our institutions. And so this continues some of that same work in developing trainings, workshops, helping get, having the trainings and workshops not just in Baton Rouge for all of our institutions at once, but doing much more specific plan development at each of the institutions as well, with our partnership that we have with NCBRT. Following up with that, we are going to request $1 million for textbook affordability through Lewis and the tremendous work that they do, as well as $1 million for our hunger-free campus program to build those and continue those strategic partnerships that we have already started across all of our institutions. So with that being said, senior staff recommends approval of the State General Fund operating budget requests for all higher education systems, boards, and agencies for fiscal year 26-27.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Is there a motion to approve the higher education first year 26-27 budget request? David?
I do have a question.
Get
Yeah.
a second one.
Oh, we got,
First and a second, and then-
Yeah, first
Yep.
and second,
First,
then we'll do
second,
the
then.
and then we'll go to questions. To call it Temple, seconded. Any discussion?
So I would like to ask, with this increase of about 120 million that we're requesting, will we be able to apply the new formula, or?
So if we receive funding specifically for the formula, then per board approval, we would use the funding formula. The new funding formula.
Okay.
So yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Be exciting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir?
Elizabeth, can you go back to the previous slide? With
Yes, sir.
regard to that particular item of $20 million, one of the recurring themes since we've been here, at least that's my third day, on Monday at the community college, we heard the chancellor speak about high set and the general education equivalency, that is, while it's not funded, but, you know, you can't even get on the Meta site without it. And then listening to the students yesterday over at Grambling speak of the Call Me Mister, the program is ending because there's no money. And then listening to the panel this morning, hearing the mayor and some of the panel talk about education. How can we make a request to support the education at a level where, you know, it's disheartening that you hear a school district could only have, I mean, whether it's 2 certified teachers, whatever the number is. I do know in Tensas and some of these other districts, they have a majority of uncertified classroom teachers. And that's just startling if we're going to be recruiting and trying to upgrade. So my question is, how can we emphasize, I get it, the STEM is there and education is mentioned, but, you know, can we ask for more?
I believe Commissioner
So-
Reed will answer that.
I mean, I don't mind lobbying for it, but I'll get Philip to help me a little bit. We got to, I mean, we've heard that loud and clear.
So I would say that this is a balance. We absolutely can ask for more, but we are in partnership. So our request goes in, as does the Secretary of Economic Development's request, the Secretary of Louisiana Works request, the Department of Education's request to collectively address these issues. You will recall that Commissioner Barra said to us, be very strategic, right? You expect a standstill budget. Tell us your top 2 items beyond that, or 3. So we've tried to honor that. You will note in tab 4 that we start with our budget request talking about the UAL, because if we can retain the savings, that's $80 million estimated, that would give us the funding, right, to do some of these things. So we absolutely can ask for more. We absolutely have heard the significant request. Teacher apprenticeship was mentioned, workforce internships, all of those things. But we don't see our budget as a standalone budget separate from the other entities. We see it as part of a collaborative effort to try to address these issues. But welcome, Regent Aubrey, any specifics that you want to talk about in terms of specific numbers. The budget is due, the letter due to Commissioner Barra by November 1st. And so we stand ready to support whatever the board would like us to do on that. But we were trying to honor the commissioner's request and work collaboratively with the other agencies.
Well, I don't want to change your numbers, but, I mean, all they can do is say no, but I wish we can ask $5 million for education. And that will be inclusive of those type programs, because that's disheartening. I mean, you look at those students, and we were all impressed yesterday, but they know that they're going to lose their director. I mean, they talked to some others besides me.
Are you saying 5 million more in the workforce funding
In the
number?
workforce funding for
Teacher
education.
ed, apprenticeships, et
Teacher
cetera? Okay.
apprenticeship and education support initiative, like the Call Me Mister and teacher apprenticeship, because we got to help.
I like that.
Okay?
I like that.
Happy to
And I know I
make
wasn't
that
the only
change.
one those students were talking to about that.
And
Yeah, I didn't.
It was Regent David or someone else they were talking to about it. Yeah, the program ends in April. They call me
didn't-
Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but I sat there yesterday thinking, man, what an amazing program without even realizing it's going to end.
It's federal, the federal funding.
Congressman
It's
Letlow got the money, and
Okay.
it runs out in April.
But I do want to say, Regent Aubrey, this is, of course, our first step in the collaboration that we have with the division. As you're very much aware, this is the beginning of the process when we provide the letter on November 1st, and then Dr. Reed, as well as Chair Cordell, and really each and every one of our regents and the work that y'all do on our behalf help push our budget request forward and help push exactly what the needs are for all of our higher education institutions forward. So we're happy to make this change and speak on what your preferences are and how to go forward from here. But it is a collaborative effort across all of us.
I just want to offer it as an amendment that we ask for an additional $5 million for teacher apprenticeship, teacher preparation programs.
high set.
High set.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Include high set.
Is there a second to that? I haven't seen a second. Is there a second? I was going to say I'll second it, but call us
Okay.
whoever.
Call us move.
3
or You have
seconds.
a comment? Okay. A lot of hands going up. Okay, so we have a revision in there to add the 5 million for high set teacher apprenticeships. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to facilities and property. Enact 959 request, Grambling State University Indoor Athletic Facility. We all got to go visit that yesterday. Our first item on the agenda is this act. Chris Herring, Associate Commissioner for Facilities Planning and Emergency Management, will guide us through this item. Mr. Herring, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As was stated, the first item is a project request under the provisions of Act 959 to construct an indoor practice facility on the campus of Grambling State. This will be a 36,505 square foot facility. I think yesterday everybody was able to see the larger vision for that area of campus, but today's action is specifically for the covered indoor practice facility of that project. It's estimated to be approximately $6.7 million, and we are recommending an approval contingent on University of Louisiana system approval during their meeting tomorrow. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we recommend approval.
Madam Chair, just as a personal privilege, I know Ms. Finley and I would be happy to offer a motion and second on behalf of that particular item.
All right. So that's an offering of a motion and a second.
Well, I think she made the motion,
Okay, so moved.
and I second it.
I gotcha.
It was a voluntold.
I like it. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is in the first year 26-27 capital outlay budget recommendation. Mr. Herring, you may proceed.
Yes, ma'am. So this is the annual Board of Regents capital outlay recommendation that is required by statute to be submitted to the Division of Administration by November 1st of each year. The presentation that was presented to you guys in your packet contains a total of 153 projects that we received for consideration next year. Of those 153, we are recommending 79 for approval of either new state dollars or to maintain the current appropriation within House Bill 2. And I'd like to point out that this continues the trend of us receiving as well as recommending less projects over the last few years. We have strongly encouraged institutions to minimize the requests that they've been submitting on an annual basis, and they each have, as you can see. Last year, we received 171 projects. The year prior was 235. So the number of projects that we're being presented each year for consideration has been coming down, as well as the number of projects that we're recommending for funding each year. is being reduced. For context, I'd just like to, mention that this year in House Bill 2, higher ed received approximately $326 million in new state funding for projects this year. Of that amount, 248 of that was in general obligation financing, bond financing, and the other 78 million came from cash sources. So that's the number. I think the target figure we're kind of looking for this year in terms of higher ed funding is an enterprise for capital projects. The total that you see in the recommendation far exceeds that. But again, we take each institution or system's request into account, and they prioritize the projects within their system, and they send them to us for an overall prioritization. And we take those into account, and then we look at, okay, what projects are under construction right now? So the projects at the beginning in red on the recommendation represent those that are under construction or have a commitment to bid within this fiscal year. So that equates to 13 projects and approximately $121 million. The subsequent section in green are those projects that are shovel-ready right now, or they will be either by the end of the fiscal year or by August of next year. We heard yesterday Louisiana Tech's Madison Hall, for example. It's ready to go. So that's one of the projects that will be moving forward that represents one of the projects in the shovel-ready category. The next category of those projects that are under design, the design may not be complete in the upcoming fiscal year, but they'll need additional funding to make sure design is completed so that they're able to move to construction during the 2027 legislative session. And the final category, there are 11 new projects that have not received funding yet. We recommend a handful of these each year to address immediate needs and to make sure we have, projects in the pipeline in out years. The next slide just shows a summary of the number of projects received, the fiscal year 27 requests by system. Again, I point out that there's 13 that are essentially spoken for and that they're under construction or will be bidding soon. And 74 projects not recommended, total approximately $166 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'd like to point out too, lastly, that as part of the appropriation for the 751 program, we met with each system at the beginning of that process, and every system strongly conveyed that they would like a facilities condition assessment conducted for all their campuses. So we worked with the systems in consultation with facility planning and control to find a contractor that could provide those services. So we hired Gordian to come in, and they're doing a comprehensive facilities condition assessment as well as a space utilization analysis and another service titled Return on Physical Assets, which looks at historical capital spending levels, staffing levels related to their maintenance and facilities departments, energy's cost over the last 5 years. So once this effort is complete, it'll help guide each institution to develop a capital plan that will provide us more accurate information going forward in the upcoming years. The project started, they've completed 8 on-site assessments as of now. The other ones, we started kickoff meetings once we received the new money for this fiscal year. And those projects, the next round of projects will kick off next week, actually, at the University of New Orleans. So we're hopeful all this is complete by the time I'm sitting before you next year, and will help guide these decisions, not only for the institutions, but for us as well as we move forward. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about a specific project or institution. Otherwise, we recommend approval of the 26-27 capital outlay recommendation.
That's great news, Chris. Thank you for that last part. It's good to have a nice, thorough assessment of all of our campuses. Members, you've heard the recommendation from senior staff. Is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 26-27 capital outlay budget?
So moved. Second.
Jinx.
Jinx. Yeah, that was good.
Motion made by May, seconded by David. Any discussion?
I would like to, I guess, beat a dead horse that we've constantly heard. When I was reading through this, I noticed a lot of these projects are deferred maintenance projects, even though a lot of deferred maintenance is supposed to go through House Bill or Act 751, our deferred maintenance bill. So I just would like to present this back out here and maybe consider, what is our actual balance between deferred maintenance and actual capital projects that we're funding here from the Board of Regents?
Well, 1 second, I have that.
So while Chris is looking for that, we have traditionally had about a $2 billion backlog in deferred maintenance. Representative Turner has been our champion, who you saw on yesterday, passed legislation to reduce and try to eliminate the deferred maintenance. We are $100 million into the project now. Obviously, we need to go faster. And we know that the campuses are spending about $50 to $60 million of their own operating dollars. So it's been a combined effort. Our preference clearly would be to have more dollars in the deferred maintenance category, but last year we only received $25 million. And so we're trying to balance that, and we're trying to do a good job of advocating with our legislative champions to move that work forward. Chris, more?
Yes, and I'd say it's about 50%. And it's a critical point that you're bringing up, the importance of funding the deferred maintenance and funding it at a sustained or dependable level. The reason you see the deferred maintenance projects in the recommendation is this year because the institutions have to have a mechanism to fix something if they have a $2 million chiller break. And with the varying amounts of deferred maintenance funding over the last few years, it's extremely difficult for somebody to plan. If they knew we were getting, as an enterprise, $75 million each year, they could budget to fix more expensive projects on an annual basis. However, when the number varied widely like it did between the previous year and this year, and everybody that had plans to fix a more expensive project and realized that, our system is delegating us $500,000 or whatever it may be, their plans change. So these projects appear this year more so than last year due to the fact that we need a mechanism to cover these projects in the event that they do happen. So you're 100% right. There are infrastructure, deferred maintenance, and renovation projects which are allowed through Act 751. But that's the reason why they're more prevalent in the recommendation this year.
Chris, with regard to that facilities condition assessment tool, how are we funding that? And then are we going by system or are we going by regions? How are the assessments scheduled?
So it's funded through Act 751. We took a portion of the first year dollars along with a portion of this year's dollars to fund the assessment. It's completely funded. Again, the work is underway. We started with 2 institutions, each system, and that was determined by each system, which 2 we started with. But now, again, the funding's in place, so they're running wide open in terms of scheduling meetings for the remaining institutions, and that work, most kickoff meetings have been held with the remaining institutions, and again, I think the first assessment beginning out of the second round begins next week at UNO, and I think they're doing Nunez as well on that same schedule, but they should all, they'll be starting rapidly over the next few months, with the goal being complete by this time next year.
So what does an assessment for a size? You mentioned those 2 schools in New Orleans. What scope scale? That $1 million, $500,000? What is that?
The total was it $10 million?
The total was
All of higher ed.
$9.4 million for all of higher ed, all 3 services. So I can tell you, for example, at Southern, because I went by and met the team at Southern when they were there, and they had a team of about 12 or 16 individuals that come, and they have an architectural person, they have an engineering person on staff, and they basically walk every facility on campus and they're developing their information that they come back, and then they'll provide the findings at a later date.
So when you get that data, whenever it's completed, how does it align with the institution and their master plan and the overall Regents master plan?
So that's all part of the conversations that are held with each institution. On the front end, they ask for copies of each institution's master plan. Once they've done the assessment and they have their preliminary results, they come back to each institution for another meeting to review and make sure, A, they're not missing anything. You know, there was nothing that they didn't capture in the assessment. And, you know, they're working in tandem with the institutions to make sure that, they're not stepping, I guess, out the line in terms of their master planning effort. But for us, I think it's going to be we're both of us really provide a great resource and tool for capital planning going forward.
I would just add to that, the ability to have a third party validate the information, consistently review all of the campuses, really allows us to move from sort of campus and system information about deferred maintenance and facility use to a real instrument that allows us to be much more efficient, right? So you hear now from the campuses that they have varied levels of expertise, and so they're self-reporting their deferred maintenance. Now we'll be able to say this is third-party validated information. Also, it allows us to say your facility usage is not good in the evenings, on weekends. So let's be more efficient. Let's put all the classes in one building so we're not running AC. Sorry, Philip May. We're not running AC in every room and all the time. So we're trying to make sure that we're thinking about those issues. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us to really plan well and be more efficient.
Yes, and one last thing, Gordian, so they've consumed a lot of companies over the years in terms of their portfolio, and one of the companies that they own is RS Means, which is a construction estimating firm. So all the numbers that we're receiving in terms of project costs will be consistent in that they're coming from one source of information. It's not, you know, everybody picking from their own contractors and things like that. It'll be a consistent source of information based on regional attributes and things like that, but it will be a lot more consistent in that regard as well.
And when it's finalized, are we going to load it up on like an open source so that the public could know that this information is available?
I don't know if we've had that conversation. So the information will be housed on a cloud platform.
Yeah, we'll talk with them about what we can do, and we'll certainly share with them your preference on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Will Gordian also offer like a maintenance schedule since, as the commissioner said, there are sometimes limited resources on the campuses? Just like a routine maintenance for like the HVACs and different things just to keep everything, all the equipment in good health?
That's a component of it. So they build it out in 1 year, I think 3 year, 5 year, 10-year increments, so that you can see over the life of the whatever piece of equipment it may be that it's either time to replace or maintain or upgrade or things of that nature.
That's great. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor of this? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you so much. Next up is Academic and Student Affairs. Dr. Tristan Didley, Deputy Commissioner of Academic Affairs and Innovation, will present these items. Our first item is the consent agenda. Dr. Didley, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so today's consent agenda is just a set of very routine approvals. We're just changing the name of 3 associate programs to just better fit the scope of those degree programs. So senior staff recommend the approval of those items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you so much.
The next item is academic programs. Dr. Denley, you may proceed.
Yeah, so we have just one academic program for your consideration today. It's a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship at Southern University. So this is really taking what has existed for some time as a specialization within Southern's existing BBA program in general business and really rolling it out as a standalone bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship. As you might imagine, this is a program specifically designed to enable students at our HBCU to be able to become entrepreneurs. Certainly something that's been a theme of today, to try to really understand how we might enhance economic activity across the state. This will be only the second entrepreneurship program in the state. LSU A&M also has a standalone bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship, and of course, it will be the first entrepreneurship degree at our HBCUs here in the state. So senior staff recommend the approval of that academic program.
Second.
By Reeves, seconded by Glazier. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I think this is the last one I'll ask questions on.
I have some questions too.
Yeah, Dean Andrews certainly is here, and certainly if you can join Dr. Denley to answer some questions. But I know you've articulated to us, Dr. Denley, in the past that we want the degree to speak to the area specifically of which, the area of competency or what we're articulating. And in discussing this with you and discussing it with Dean Andrews over the weekend, this would be a Bachelor of Business Administration in Entrepreneurship.
Correct.
And Southern University has a degree that already exists that says a Bachelor of Business Administration. And I asked the question, why couldn't we do a Bachelor of Science in Entrepreneurship, or why can't we just have a BBA with a concentration or a minor in entrepreneurship specifically, rather than add a new degree program? And that's just, I think, in this time and environment in higher education, we have to be a lot more, definitely nimble, but I don't know that students having a major with a concentration or a major with a minor, I mean, we heard the student giving the tours today. I don't know that it's required or necessary that it's a BBA entrepreneurship. I mean, I'm not the academic, person to really understand that this meeting that we need to do another program. So I told the dean that I still have questions and concerned about it. I get it. I've done minority entrepreneurship training my prior life. I get that, and there are a lot of ways to achieve that. But most lawyers nowadays that I meet are not in pre-law or medicine. They don't start out in certain things. But I'm just not so convinced that we need to keep adding programs in today's environment in higher education. Enrollments are flat, resources are not there, adding program coordinators. But I just needed to put that on the record that I continue to have concern. I think we have to push back at some point than to keep adding academic programs across Louisiana right now. But this one might be different.
So Dean Andrews certainly is here, and I know we'll be delighted to answer questions that you might ask for him. I will say that, as you say, we try hard to try to enable students when there is a perceived demand, and also when we can do it in a fiscally judicious way, to take programs that exist as concentrations or sub-programs within programs, and then when they get to a place where there is enough of a life, let's say, we then might entertain them spinning out to be having a standalone life. In many ways, this is quite a fiscally responsible approach, because the reality is when they are substantial concentrations that exist within an existing degree, the courses that are required to teach that concentration already exist. The students are already in that program. They're already in classes being taught. And so in many ways, we're just sort of recognizing that subspecialty and calling it what it is, which is, we're calling it out as having its own life. It doesn't really create any sort of additional fiscal footprint on the program as it's being taught. But still, Dean Andrews is here, and he can speak more eloquently than that, probably.
To the board chair, commissioner, and board members, happy to be here with you this afternoon. We've been working on this for about 30 years in terms of innovation is what really drives entrepreneurship. As we know, we've seen areas like Route 128 Boston, we've seen Silicon Valley, we've seen Austin, and all these are driven by university programs. We've sent our faculty to Babson, which is the premier entrepreneurship program. We've sent faculty members to MIT, and we understand what they do, why those schools are so entrepreneurial, is that basically they mentor their students through these particular programs. So we've invested heavily in terms of grant dollars. We've received $1 million from Minority Business Development Administration. We've seen funding from our alumni who are entrepreneurs and would like to see us start this program and are willing to put dollars into this program. We have an MOU with our Southern University System Foundation. They have the Urban Matthews Entrepreneurship Center. So we need more or less an area that basically can provide the academics. Now, when we talk about a Bachelor of Science is more oriented toward the science component. When we talk about a Bachelor of Arts, it's an arts component. When we talk about a Bachelor of Business Administration, we want faculty to understand this is a business program that is oriented toward practice. Entrepreneurship is not a science, it's not an art, but it is a craft that you have to practice. So we want the faculty to understand that they're going to have to emphasize, and we're going to have faculty of practice that are going to generate opportunities for this program. So we want the program to be entrepreneurial from day one. We want faculty to understand that basically they've got to reach out and go beyond what they're currently doing in terms of understanding practice. So we have agreements. We have a grant from the Winrock International Foundation that basically is talking about retail ready. They want these individuals to be retail ready. There's more funding that can possibly be generated from this. We've also looked at some of the grants we've had in terms of international programs. We've learned a lot. I just returned last night from AACSB meeting in Toronto, Canada, and they're talking about how more or less faculty have to do more in terms of teaching excellence. And we see more or less being able to bring into the classroom what we want individuals to do in terms of practice. And I know here in the Northeast area, you guys have the Meta Project, and they're going to need entrepreneurs. They're going to need small businesses to help get this program going. And so we see more or less opportunities here to help students understand what it means to go into business. So we're working with our Small Business Development Center. We have a University Center for Economic and Entrepreneurial Development. We have an agreement with our law school. They have an incubator. And we are working with our engineering program. We had one of our alums to give us $100,000, but he wants the engineering and business to work together. So basically, it is in the collaboration that takes place that basically fuels innovation and entrepreneurship. And we also really got started with this with our our music program, because our musicians go out and they become entrepreneurs, but they don't really understand that. So that's why we started our entrepreneurship minor to begin with. So we think we're ready to move to the degree granting component as far as entrepreneurship is concerned.
Thank you for
believe
that.
that was necessary to have a separate degree? You have a business administration degree already, and most of the things that you...
This will be a major, so we're bringing it up to a major. And so when it's a major, it has to fit in one of the categories, as whether it's a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Business Administration.
I think there is that element of maybe of confusion. So there are various different acronyms. So there's a BS with the Bachelor of Science, a BA, a Bachelor of Art, a BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. A BBA is a Bachelor of Business Administration. It's just a kind of degree. And then there's a BBA in Marketing, BBA in Management, BBA in Finance, and a BBA in Entrepreneurship is what we're discussing today.
So the BBA exists.
So a BBA is a kind of degree, and there's sure enough, there is a BBA degree. There's a BBA, there is a degree in the BBA family at Southern.
You just approved, I think, last year, our BBA in Risk Management and Insurance. We got $1.3 million from Alliant Foundation to start that program.
Okay.
And so this would be the second or third one?
This will be the second component within the BBA family.
Okay, you don't have a general BBA?
No.
Okay, so your BBA insurance,
A BBA in risk management and insurance.
and then a BBA now in entrepreneurship.
Right.
Let me also mention to Regent Aubrey's important question that even from the great leadership you heard this morning, campuses do understand that they have to do resource reallocation for programs to be successful. You've heard the significant public-private partnership expectation, the fundraising expectation. And then I do want to remind you that you have asked us with new academic programs to also ask for terminations as well as consolidations. And so when Tristan brings programs, as he did last month, he also brought a double-digit number of terminations. So we are sensitive to those issues and just want to make sure we will continue to be so.
I was going to say in this portion of the discussion, Regent Aubrey, this is the scab of Louisiana. When you peel off the scabs, that we have institutions in the same city that want programs. It says LSU averages 20 graduates a year in this same program. Is that a lot? It depends on what you think is a lot of demand for, 15 miles away. Same program, but obviously Southern has interest in it and alumni and corporations wanting them to have this program. You have here at ULM and down, they have construction management. We just heard about construction management at Louisiana Tech, and that's where we are in Louisiana. We got institutions close by, and everybody wants programs for their students, and it's not a collaborative thing. Like one professor, the professor that teaches this at LSU, could he drive up? Would it make sense to Regent May or you running companies? Okay, you teach there in the morning and go teach the same class at Southern in the afternoon, and you get one paycheck. It makes a lot of sense, but
20 students.
it makes CENTS sense too, but that's where we are in the structure that we've inherited in Louisiana. So I'm going to vote to approve Southern's program, but they talked, the vape, what's that over ULM? The vapors, the stench of history and the stench of what we're saying on one hand, and we don't want to regurgitate the same programs. Here we are. So I understand the goals of Southern University and the efforts for its students to have this program.
So I will only add that the programs have to be successful in order for them to continue. The campuses, the systems, and the Board of Regents does low completer review every year. And so if the program is not successful, if corporations don't come forward, if students don't vote with their feet to enroll in the program, then the program will be back as a program that will be terminated or consolidated as a result of that. So we want to encourage the institutions to pick degrees that are aligned to the needs of the corporations, the regions, the workforce, but we do have a process for all of you, as you know, that allows us to take a strong look at how these programs are demonstrating success.
Which is very subjective, as you know, and we haven't looked at low completer assessments as a policy in how many years?
Just did it last
As a
week.
policy, we haven't looked at it for some
As a
time.
policy.
But we are just.
And we're talking about looking at that policy, maybe graduating 10 students over a year in certain programs, but again, where do we need to invest the dollars? Where are the jobs? Where are the kids going to be able to graduate and pay back if they owe money? And that's, I get it.
I think part of the conversation is, and I think this is part of what we're trying to take into account when we do this low completer review, that that there are a lot of different iterations of what it means for a program to produce relatively small numbers of graduates. There are situations where we have programs where all of the courses involved in that program already exist within other degrees, and we are simply saying, okay, look, when we knit those existing courses together, we can create a new credential which has a meaning in the workplace and a meaning to employers. And so there is a very different cost-benefit analysis to creating that degree than a program which has a very small enrollment but requires teaching a large number of very special classes, which consequently will be very difficult to sustain because there's basically nobody in those two programs may in fact both produce relatively small numbers of graduates, but fiscally have a very different picture.
I understand.
That's what we're trying to do.
Well, my approach, and I'm like what Wilbur said, I think we got to get to a point as a coordinating or a policy board to say, we have a program here. Can you, provost, since nobody objected when you sent it around, can y'all work together and give me a 2+2, a 3+1, or a 4+1, give me an MBA, do something that's going to be transformative, not do what somebody else is doing in the same region, in the same market, in the same state. That's what I would like, but I'm just one. I'm not going to vote against it, but I'm just not excited because I see this as a high-demand area. That's just my perspective.
Regent May.
I appreciate your concerns, Regent Aubrey. I also think that, you know, this is not a request for additional funding. In fact, it may require a debate of which programs continue to exist at this university and which ones will, if this is successful, they're going to have that conversation perhaps. And the other factor for me is not every student that wants to pursue this can get into LSU. This is not exactly a duplication in my mind.
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
One
motion-
abstention.
One abstention. All right, well, we have one abstention and the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Our next item is the new centers and institutions across our campuses. Dr. Denley, you may again proceed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we have two new centers for consideration today, and they are really at the sort of the two ends of the life cycle for centers and institutes. First of all, we're proposing an institute for the health and performance of champions at LSU A&M, and this is a center which is right at the very beginning of this sort of life cycle. This proposed center would knit together really a long-standing partnership between Our Lady of the Lake and LSU School of Kinesiology and LSU Health Sciences Center, really creating a way for researchers and practitioners from all across the kinesiology and human performance space to do joint research and take part in joint research projects. This would involve projects that would involve athletes, but also what are described in the proposal as tactical athletes. So these may be people involved in military pursuits or astronauts, emergency service professionals, firefighters, all kinds of people who work at the extremes of physical exertion in all kinds of extreme kinds of situations. So this is the first of those two programs. The second is a Center for Research Excellence for Traumatic Injury and Burn Research and Innovation at LSU Health Sciences Center. This, as I say, is at totally the other end of the life cycle of this work. So the work of LSU Health Sciences and the work in New Orleans around traumatic injury and burn research is internationally renowned and has been for quite some considerable time. I know some members were able to join the commissioner and I and the board chair just a few weeks ago when we gave testimony in front of the House Education Committee. At that meeting, LSU Health Sciences gave, I think, an amazing presentation where they showed some of the work that was happening with some of the scientists who are involved in this work. Spray-on spray-on skin that allow people who have been literally debilitated by burn and trauma to really have a second life. And just so in many ways, these two proposals, as I say, live at two ends of work. The first is knitting together the beginning of creating a partnership. The other is recognizing this Center for Research Excellence is the highest recognition that you as regents can give to this kind of work, and really in many ways by your action today would recognize an international renown for the kind of work. So with that, I certainly am very happy to recommend approval of both the Institute and the Research Center as presented.
I was glad to get to see some of that on that visit. And when I tell you the spray on skin, I mean, you couldn't tell that patient had burns. And after seeing people recover with burns, it was unbelievable, really. It was some great research. Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the new center?
Motion.
Move Temple and Glazier. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item includes a presentation of two legislative reports for our consideration. We will start off first by hearing about the MJ Foster Promise Program. Members, you'll recall this program aims to provide workforce training opportunities for our working age adults who haven't earned a good degree. In fact, Monday night in San Antonio, Regents was honored with the College Promise with the College Promise National Impact Award for the MJ Foster Promise Program. Our MJ Foster Promise Program continues to stand as the cornerstone of affordability and workforce development for adult learners in Louisiana. Since its launch in 2022, MJ Foster has supported more than 10,500 of Louisianians, with over 4,200 already completing with the credential of high value and high demand fields. This is wonderful news. We are very proud to support this. We need legislature to give us some more funding for it. And we're going to let Dr. Denley tell us a little bit more about it.
I don't know if there's much more to say. Actually, I think you've just summed it all up. But I think we certainly want to say a big thank you to the College Promise organization for their recognition. It really is an astonishingly powerful program. I'm going to go through these slides pretty quickly because really, in many ways, as the board chair said, this is an astonishingly successful program. The report that is in your packet and will very shortly be given to the legislature, many of the elements are legislatively required. We have tables that show the demographics of the people who were involved and who were recipients, where it is that they come from, which parishes, and what is the information when it comes to the impact. But I think the bottom line of all of this is this slide right here, that we need to understand the impact of this program. As things stand this year, we were able to serve a record number of people, and some of the reason why we were able to serve a record number of people was because we had more money. There is $10.5 million that is currently in the budget for this program. Last year, we were able to use about $7 million, which we were not able to utilize in the very first year. That gave us $17 million. That allowed us to serve correspondingly more people than when we only had $10 million. What that means is, and what we need to understand is, so a huge proportion, the overwhelming proportion of people who are served by this program when they begin the program are below the ALICE threshold, for a single adult, not able to support themselves, certainly not able to support their families. After they graduate, the mean increase in their salary is $41,000. The median increase in their salary is $36,000. For many of these people, this is doubling, tripling their personal income. This is an entirely life-changing event to earn the credential that they earn. And so consequently, it is, I think that's the reason why it is that this program was recognized by College Promise as being something that is a national model for the kind of impact that it has. And so, if we really are about, as a state, showing that education is the key to people having the kind of life we would like them to have, what we call Louisiana Prospers, MJ Foster is the poster child for that kind of work. And we want to say a huge thank you to our two-year institutions for the work that they do in making this transformative impact. So I will, as I say, page through because I know we're cut for time. So, senior staff recommend the approval of the MJ Foster Promise Program Annual Report and asking the authorization for the commissioner to submit that report to the committees on behalf of the Board of Regents.
Is there a motion to approve the MJ?
Motion
Foster
to
Promise
approve.
Well, we got a lot going on here. Reeves, May, we had some- Davi, everybody's in. Any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So there's 5,000 people use the scholarship in 2024? And it's how many millions of dollars?
It's about $10.5 million altogether that the program requires. That's right.
I just don't, what's that saying? How's that math?
So
$10
certainly,
million for 5,000.
so I'm sorry, I'm
Go
missing
ahead.
your. So each person is eligible for somewhere between $1,600 and $3,200. So there's some very strict parts of the legislation that say that ordinarily you would receive $1,600 or the cost of the program, but if it is an expensive program like a commercial driving license program, then you can have up to $3,200. So on average, it works out to be of the order of $2,000 per person, which is that's then what you see.
5,000
5,000 times
Recipients.
2,000 is
times 2,000.
So the other thing I would add, Regent Pryor, is that it is the only scholarship, state-funded scholarship program that requires that you pursue a high-demand, high-wage credential. And so you see that we're continuing to run out of funding. I think Dr. Butte and the team at LOSFA reported that this is the most frequently visited part of the website for statewide programs is MJ Foster. These are adults who don't have a credential. There is a need-based component to it. You have to be a certain percentage of poverty to receive it. And so the variation in the program cost exists. It's proprietary schools and two-year schools. But the undeniable piece is that people are earning more as a result of participating. And so we want to make sure we lean into programs that really are trying to help people get from poverty to prosperity.
Where's the additional, so the money's allocated by
The
by the
legislature.
legislature?
Right.
So obviously there's a need for more.
There's a need for more.
Where could that come from?
So it will be up to the legislature to prioritize the funding. We did ask for additional funding last year. We were not successful. But I do think that the legislature understands the value of the program. So it's going to be up to them to obviously try to help us get there. As Tristan mentioned, we had $7 million left in the first year because we had lower uptake of the program in year one. So we had some dollars in reserve. The legislature had to allocate those dollars to us to use, and we've used them all. And so now the expectation, according to LCTCS, and I see Wendy here, is that we will run out of money for the year next month because the demand is so great.
And then what happens?
And then what happens, we won't be able to have new participants in the program. But we're sitting here, and yesterday we were hearing from all of this economic developers and businesses talking about we need more workers, right? We need more people. This is the exact kind of program that we want to make sure they're funding. And it's up to us and our community college partners to do the best job we can to advocate and provide persuasive justification so we get more funding to help more people.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Our next report is the TOPS annual report. Dr. Denley, you're up again.
Thank you. So similarly, I'm going to kind of move my way through the slides for the TOPS report because in so many ways, each year we are asked, again, by statute to provide various different information when it comes to TOPS, but the overwhelming story is always the same. That on the one hand, we know that students who are funded, who receive TOPS support, are much more likely to graduate, much more likely to move on and complete their credential. All of those things are terrific. They are much more likely to do that more quickly, more successfully, all of the things that we certainly would like to celebrate here in the Board of Regents. But it is also the case that across the last decade, a gradually declining proportion of the people who are eligible to receive TOPS choose to receive it. And we also know that many of those who choose not to receive it because they leave the state and instead pursue higher education elsewhere. We believe that to be the reason for that to be because the amount of money which you receive for TOPS support was frozen in time in 2016-17, and so consequently, just like everything else, the real term dollar of the support from a TOPS scholarship has gradually declined across that decade, and as it has declined, so consequently has been the attractiveness to take it. It is the case that last year we did put together, and you approved sending it over to the legislature, a broad-scale financial aid report looking at all of our financial aid tools and looking at ways that we might knit those together. There were several recommendations at the end of that report, many of them about TOPS. Some of those were approved as part of the legislative action in the last session. You will remember that one of those was the creation of a new level, the excellence level of TOPS, which is specifically designed to make it much more attractive for the best and brightest in Louisiana to stay in Louisiana. We believe that that will have an impact, and there's all kinds of things happening on campuses to take advantage of that. But the fact still remains that for the vast majority of TOPS recipients, the amount of money that they will receive is still frozen in 2016-17. And so there's every reason for us to imagine that what we have seen in this report and in other reports will continue to be the case in future reports, that for those people who have ACT scores in the mid-20s, it will be attractive for them to leave the state, which I think none of us want to see happen. It's also the case that in the report, and we certainly put it into this report as well, that there were several other recommendations that we believe would have impact when it comes to TOPS. I'll name a couple of those, but certainly I would encourage you to read those as well again. One of those is certainly around making sure that we can align the ability to qualify with TOPS with what we now believe is the best ways to understand future promise in college. Because we know that by enabling students to have access to dual enrollment, that we make it much more likely for them to go on to do college afterwards, which we would like to see them do. As things currently stand, dual enrollment in and of itself doesn't qualify you for TOPS. It's the ACT and your GPA which qualify you for TOPS. There's a mismatch there. We believe that mismatch, if it were changed, would be effective. Secondly, and I know the board chair would very much like to see this happen too, that we have tools to be able to attract those people back, those people who left. There are ways in which we might be able to use the TOPS scholarship to get them to come back to Louisiana, where we would very much like to see them be, and build their new career in Louisiana by, again, using TOPS as a tool to attract them back, specifically in medical care. So it is on that basis that I recommend the approval of the TOPS report and ask for authorization for the commissioner to submit the report to those legislative committees. Let's say the bottom line of this is nothing new to see here, other than we know what it is that needs to be done, and in that report is certainly advocacy for us to see the legislature take those things up in the session, should they choose to do so.
Right. And I was also very encouraged about TOPS excellence. Every single student on the panel, at least one student per panel, they all praised TOPS excellence. They also said that helped them make their decision. They thought it would help other students make their decisions on where to go to school and stay in state also. So that's some good work. Thank you so much for your presentation. Members, is there a motion to approve the TOPS annual report?
Motion to approve.
Dixon, and Creed. Any discussion?
Dr. Denley, I know we had discussed this at a meeting prior that TOPS and the entirety of academic affairs would be looking into potentially what percentage of TOPS accepted college students actually stay in Louisiana and work in Louisiana. I just would like to ask what the progress was on that report.
Yeah, thanks so much for asking for that. So we are entering into, I think as you know, LA First is the state's longitudinal data system, and so we are we're actively working with LA First to be able to understand that interconnection. So we have the data agreements assigned to make sure that we can provide the information to LA First so they can know who are people who, sure enough, did require top support, and so we're actively working to make sure that we can produce that data. Yeah, thanks.
All right, that's great. All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up is research and sponsored initiatives. Deputy Commissioner for Sponsored Programs, Carrie Robison, will present the next item, appointment of endowed chairholder without national search at LSU and A&M College. Carrie, please proceed.
Yes, ma'am. First, we're starting with the requested appointment of Dr. Kip Matthews to the Charles M. Smith Chair in Medical Physics at LSU A&M. LSU A&M has always used the Smith Chair in Medical Physics to support the director of the Medical Physics program, which is co-located at LSU A&M and the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Dr. Matthews has been appointed to this position, and LSU, as an internal appointment, and LSU is requesting to award him the chair. The staff has reviewed his credentials, and he is fully qualified per our policies to be a chairholder. So we are recommending approval.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Moved by Regent Aubrey, second. Second by Sarda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Hearing none, motion passes.
I oppose.
I think you had one nay.
Oh, one opposition. Opposition by Regent Pryor. Motion passes. Our next item is an overview of the Board of Regents Support Fund and budget for fiscal year 26-27. This item is for informational purposes only and requires no vote. Carrie, please proceed.
Yes, so I wanted to bring this item to you in October, just to remind you first that the Support Fund is a constitutionally dedicated program. It is in Article 7 of the Constitution. It is designed to improve the quality of higher education and enhance Louisiana's economic development. But I am bringing this to you now because we're in a somewhat unusual circumstance. Act 222 of the 2025 regular session repeals the trust fund that provides the funding for the Board of Regents Support Fund, as well as all subfunds, which means that if it is passed by the voters in April of 2026, then the support fund will cease to exist, but we still have to bring a budget. A budget is still required constitutionally until that vote takes place and the constitutional provision is repealed. Very quickly, I'm going to go through just a little bit of background. So the support fund runs off of income from the trust fund. That's revenues that are earned on the trust fund earnings, as well as oil and gas revenues. We actually have seen an uptick in the revenues earned. You see that gray line, that is an uptick, and that is the first significant recovery we've seen in the support fund since the Great Recession in 2009. We fund about 10 programs through the support fund. Half are endowment matching, and the other half are direct funding to the institutions for various kinds of grants, both research and education grants. Our expenditures by program, I am thrilled to announce that before the program comes up for repeal, we have reached $1 billion investment across all of our programs, across 42 campuses in the state of Louisiana. What are the benefits of the support fund to our institutions? We impact every single aspect of academics and research functions across these institutions, from faculty, staff, and students, support to equipment, supplies, labs, facilities, and statewide collaborations to build exactly the kind of partnerships that you've been talking about today. The budget recommendations for fiscal year 27, if we make it to fiscal year 27, this is where we are in the process. We have taken our advisory actions. We've met with the support fund advisory committees, and what we're bringing before you today, just for your information, is what the advisory boards have determined to be acceptable for fiscal year 27. Next, in December, we will bring the budget to you for adoption. What do we do to determine the budget level? We look at several factors that are flowing in, including the official revenue estimate, which is $22.3 million, along with our estimate from the Treasury, which is $21.75. That's closer than they usually are. Usually those estimates are pretty far apart. They are not far apart at all. The midpoint is about $22 million, and that's exactly what we received in fiscal year 25. Though we had a budget of $17 million, we received 22. So we have some positive news. As I said, the revenues are ticking up. Five-year projections from revenue estimating predict some recovery. The recovery is slow, but it's real. And we do have some ongoing challenges, including interest rates and inflation, obviously royalty declines. We're not getting much out of the sector, and the constitutional amendment that proposes repeal of the support fund. So with all of that information, the staff recommended and our advisory bodies endorsed a recommended base budget of $22 million with contingencies. This is what the revenue estimates look like over the next few years. So the dotted lines are the estimates, are the out years. Everything else has been realized. You can see that uptick in the revenues. You have this sheet in your board material, so this is just the overview of the 26-27 proposed budget. Those are the left columns in green, and you can, just for comparison purposes, the budget that was adopted for 25-26. You'll note we suspended a lot of programs in 25-26. The reason for that was the proposed repeal of the support fund to ensure that we didn't overfund on the grant side with money we might not actually receive. We went ahead and suspended a lot of those programs and concentrated resources in the endowment programs and one research grant program. So the way we build the budget, we look first at prior commitments. Prior commitments are obligations that are on the books, so multi-year contracts that will be funded in out years, as well as federal matching obligations that we have. So our total obligation in 26-27 is $3.688 million. The reason that number is lower, if you have excellent recall and you remember previous budgets, the reason that number is lower is that we are not doing multi-year awards in fiscal year 26, so we are not building in the amount that we would need to fund those awards in year 2 in fiscal year 27. The next thing we subtract out of our base budget is the administration budget. This is just a formula that is established in statute that we can spend 3% of the average of the last 3 years' expenditures on administration of the programs. The administration of the programs includes staff, mostly staff time, and the material that we need to run competitive reviews. This number has fallen significantly because of the shortfalls in revenue. So we are now at $568,000 to support a full-time staff of 3, as well as a part-time staffer. And that is a significant reduction from our high point of staff of 11.5. In new awards, that means everything that's left of that $22 million, once we subtract out the prior commitments, the existing obligations, and the admin dollars, whatever is left is what we provide for new funding. So what we're recommending for new funding, $250,000 in federal awards for year 1. These are new matches that will be required for federal awards. These are all statewide federal awards, and that $250,000 in new match represents a NASA project, a NASA research project that we are currently in competition for. Endowment matching is going to be $8.93 million. These are funds that we provide as long-term investments to our institutions. They match endowed chairs, professorships, graduate scholarships, undergraduate scholarships, and workforce scholarships. They are all operated on a competitive basis with the exception of endowed professorships, which provides a guarantee of 2 matching slots per campus per year. And finally, $8.56 million for support fund grants and contracts. What we would propose in fiscal year 27 is to restore the suspended programs. If we are lucky enough to survive the vote, we would restore those competitive programs, restore multi-year funding opportunities, and move forward without disruption. In terms of contingencies, we have the contingencies recommended that we typically recommend. The first contingency, if higher than budgeted, we do nothing. Essentially, the support fund is a closed loop. Any funds that are earned to the fund remain in the fund. This is how we get what we call our reserve account, that is really just previous year's unexpended dollars. So if it's higher than budgeted, we will not request additional spending authority from JLCB, and we will simply keep those revenues in the reserves. If it's lower than budgeted, what we typically do, we cut competitive programs first, proportionally based on the total reduction we have to take. Only when those cuts are insufficient to cover the total shortfall do we look at the non-competitive professorships. We will cut there if needed. If that's not enough, only then would we look at federal matching, which generally we have to retain in order to receive the federal dollars, the federal granted dollars, and prior year commitments, which we consider to be positive obligations to the Board of Regents. So with that, there is no staff recommendation. This is for information only. We will bring it back to you in December, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you for being diligent.
I have a question. Particularly for the new members, Carrie, could you tell us or remind us what the legislative intent was, or the thought process of repealing the trust fund and
the intent of the repeal of the trust fund is to pay unaccrued liability in the retirement system. So the total value of the LEQTF, the Louisiana Education Quality Trust Fund, which is the parent fund of the support fund, the current value is about $1.7 billion. You'll get the real number from Treasury at the December meeting. And then there are 3 other trust funds that are slated for repeal as well, for a total of about $2 billion that can be used to pay off the unaccrued liability in the retirement systems.
Any other questions or comments? I just wanted to say thank you for being so nimble and working around this amendment. I know that you've had to run numbers and redo and do and redo again, and your diligence is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Next up is Planning, Research, and Performance. We'll now hear from the Deputy Commissioner for Strategic Planning and Student Success, Dr. Susanna Craig, who will present the consent agenda. Dr. Craig, please proceed.
Regents, I have a very short agenda for you today. It is just a consent agenda, and these are all recommendations brought to you from the Advisory Commission on Proprietary Schools. We have 3 initial applications for Lafayette Medical Assistant School, Shreveport Medical Assistant School, and Mandeville Medical Assistant School. We've got a change of ownership from medical education in New Iberia, Louisiana, and then 34 renewal applications across the state. And with that, senior staff recommends approval of the items on the consent agenda.
I move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Mears, seconded by Hickson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up is artificial intelligence. Boy, have we heard a lot about that the last 3 days. Members, this committee was created last year to tackle the complexity of AI in higher education. Last week, Governor Landry issued an executive order that bans the use of free AI tools created and operated by hostile foreign governments in Louisiana schools, colleges, and state agencies. As AI technologies quickly evolve, it is critical for us to help guide our public higher education institutions on the best ways to utilize these technologies. We'll now hear from Dr. Tristan Denley and Dr. Uma Subramanian, who I will get used to that soon, Uma, who will present the AI use policy. Thank you so much for your work.
Thanks so much. Uma and I are going to tag team this, so I'll do the policy, and then she'll do
Awesome.
the resolution. So, yeah, so the policy before you is a policy for the Board of Regents that really puts some guardrails around what we understand to be responsible and ethical use for AI within our agency and in the way in which we interact with higher education across the state. So it really walks through all of the sort of the different pieces of what that might mean. It talks about certainly what kind of guardrails do we need to have around what services we use for artificial intelligence, what companies we might be able to contract with, how we might be able to utilize data within AI, what kind of data is it ethical to actually put into different AI agents. How might we, from a use perspective, but also from a fiscal perspective, understand the use of AI? And then lastly, how should we think about our role as the Board of Regents in the overall picture of AI across the state? Of course, as we say all the time, we do not, within the Board of Regents, we don't teach students, we don't provide degrees, but we do set the tone for the way in which education happens across this state. And so we do, within the Board of Regents, have a role in training with faculty and with other programs and institutions across the state. And so consequently, within this policy are, again, guidelines for how it is that the Board of Regents would be expected to interact with other higher education entities across the state, and ways in which we would expect that interaction to, again, live within the guidelines of the governor's executive order, and of course, as we say, what we consider to be responsible and effective use of artificial intelligence. So that's where we are, and with that, we certainly recommend the approval of this policy, which, as I say, governs the way in which the Board of Regents then understands the use and ethical use of AI.
Is there a motion to approve the AI use policy?
Second.
Aubrey and Creed. Any discussion?
Dr. Dillon and I talked about this, and of course, it's a moving target. We've got to get ahead of it. But in short, the policy kind of gives a framework, a high-level framework for regents that is certainly in compliance, but also drives responsibility down to the management boards, who are the direct providers and a lot of the end users, the students, faculty, and staff. Those are direct. So if you'll see in there, there's reference in there for the management boards to definitely make sure they're in compliance and to develop their own safeguards, particularly as it relates to students and the youth and how the faculty engage in there. So I wanted to add that little commentary about it.
No, I'm glad you did. And of course, that's an exact, it's a perfect segue to the resolution that Uma will present in just a second.
I just want to, as I'm looking at this, is this done with AI? Was it? Okay.
Old school.
Old school, yeah.
But
I did ask him, though.
Tristan is our resident AI.
I will say,
He is.
thank you for that.
Not everybody has a Tristan.
No, that's true.
Not everybody.
We're blessed.
So I will say that I think many of you know that I served on the SREB's AI, I forget now whether it's council, compact, so group, let's say, and this, the elements of this policy are certainly very heavily influenced by that work, which has been pretty expensive. So actually, when we put this in place, we will go very much to the front of the pack across, at least the SREB anyway, as to where our guidelines live for artificial intelligence.
All right. All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. In addition to our AI use policy, we also have a resolution concerning AI use in post-secondary education for consideration. Please proceed, Uma.
So the resolution is the companion piece to the policy. The policy governs the Board of Regents' own use of AI for the safe, ethical, responsible use of AI because we cannot direct the institutions to follow what we have put together, the resolution urges, this is an official action from this board to your fellow board members on the 4 management boards to adopt policies for the safe, responsible, ethical use of AI, particularly with respect to students and faculty members. The Board of Regents policy doesn't directly go to the student use, but we will coordinate with the management boards on the use of AI by students. So there is a piece in the policy that talks about the coordination with the management boards. What the resolution does is, it's your official request to the 4 boards for them to adopt similar policies, comprehensive policies, before the deadline of December 15th, which is in the executive order. So this is an official action by the board. It's an urgent request type of exhortation to the management boards. So that is the resolution. So it dovetails with the policy and asks the management boards to do the same. Okay. And staff yes.
No, go ahead.
And staff recommends approval of the resolution, which can then be communicated to the management boards.
Thank you so much, Uma. And if you look at tab 10, they've shared both drafts of the policy and the resolution in advance for our meeting, so that you can look over those. Members, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Got Regent Sterling and Sarda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, guys, the end is near. It has been an amazing 3 days. I wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for traveling to our neck of the woods. Regent Creed helped host at my house last night. I want to thank him for that. It was really great having all of you guys. It was the very first gathering I've had at my home, and I could not think of better people to have there as my inaugural opening. It's been wonderful having all of you here in North Louisiana. A special thanks to President Carrie Castile and her team for hosting us on this campus, for the great hospitality, and also for the awesome swag. It's proof that the best truly is on the bayou, and it's getting even better. So thank you so much for your great hospitality and friendship. It's a beautiful campus, and we're going to let Devesh give us a little update on what's going on in Devesh's world. It's always exciting.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you all, Board of Regents. Of course, thank you to ULM. I know you guys heard from SGA president at all 4 of the universities in our off-site visit, so I am very much appreciative of you guys listening to the student perspective. In my report, I would like to talk some things that we discussed at the Council of Student Body Presidents meeting, which was held in October. So on that, there were some key things that were very important to discuss that I would like to bring up to this board. The first of all being of campus safety. I know we have discussed the hazing prevention summit and all of the hazing aspects of it, but campus safety is an important aspect, and I would like to report that most students are very confident about the safety that each campus is providing because they have been giving us apps, like the SAFE app, which is being used here in ULM, and various other apps around all the campuses. Another aspect that was discussed is, of course, accessibility on campus, and I know that campuses are working tirelessly trying to fix this issue on campus, make sure that ADA compliance is still happening. Lastly, we had a wonderful guest speaker with Dr. Andrew Schwartz, who is a professor there at LSU, and he's specifically a professor in entrepreneurship, but he talked about AI. I know we over here at the Board of Regents have probably heard AI as a hot word for the past couple of months here, and if not, the past 2 years. But something that's important that I guess the way that it was discussed happened a couple of days prior to the governor releasing his first executive order on AI policy. So he did mention that data is the new oil. And AI privacy and integrity is a very important aspect that we have to still face here. As each of these campuses are making up their own policies as recommended by our recommendation, it becomes very critical that we take a couple of few things into account. The first one that was discussed is, of course, AI equity and access. Not everybody has the same equitable access to AI, and that needs to be taken into consideration whenever a policy is made from the management board's perspective. Then again, of course, accountability and responsibility. The way that I can present this is similar to the way that ACM and IEEE, which are some of the largest organizations in computer science, network-wise internationally, the way that they present it, which is very much so that you have to be accountable on what use of AI that you did in the paper or the research work that you published. So a similar accountability aspect might be ingrained at each of these management boards. And also, it was, of course, the responsibility of AI. I know that whenever we go out there and do something and we say our words, we're responsible for the words that we say, regardless of whatever we say. Similarly, whatever we use AI to say for us, or whatever we're using AI for, we students believe that it's a similar thing that we have to be responsible for the work. So we will do the validation and just not use AI as a Vim tool, but it's also important that that is taken into account, because not only from the student perspective, but from the faculty perspective of their uses of AI into the class for their planning materials should also be taken into account. So all in all, we discussed major things. In my report, you've heard AI, and we've just passed the AI policy here on the board. So thank you all so much for listening to me. We do have our next Council of Student Body Presidents meeting here coming up shortly on November 7th and 8th, where they get to be in my neck of the woods in Shreveport. So I'll let the chair explain the photo and all that, but that's all from me. Thank you.
Is that the chair that's in the tiger costume there?
That's me.
That's you?
That's what I
thought.
double.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, like.
So I will share that this was, LSU hosted the cost meeting, was it last week, 2 weeks ago?
A couple of weeks back.
At Tiger Stadium. So there was a spirited setup for all of the students. Mike the Tiger was there. It was the first time that the students saw Mr. Harold. So you can imagine how excited they were to see him on the men. And then, of course, Emily was there with her adorable little Layla, her daughter, and then Regent Sarda. And then I'll mention also, if the chair doesn't mind, the cards that you have at your seats. So these were handed out at the student SGA, the cost meeting for the SGA students. And I love that LSU did the win bar with a united message that says, when Louisiana colleges and universities win, our students win, our community wins, and our state stands as a model of what it truly means to build a winning culture, with the logos of all of the systems in higher education attached. So just fantastic event, a lot of unity in the community right now, so I'm very excited about that. So thank you for that. I'll turn it back over.
All right. And although we're ending our day today at ULM's campus, I also want to say a heartfelt thanks to Dr. Morrison and for the tour of VCOM. Boy, that was quick. You guys, y'all work fast, Chris Shandle. It was great to hear the reactions from everyone about how cool it is to have a medical school in North Louisiana, and the percentage of students that actually stay here and close by when they come back after going to their residencies and specialties. They come back and work in rural areas, which is why we look for colleges like VCOM. So that was great to get to learn about that. On Monday, we visited the Delta campus here with Dr. Hoggart. That was great to talk with the student panel from both Delta as well as ULM. They're working to help grow and increase our workforce, and working with Meta and so many other employers to build up the next generation. One of the things that we don't realize whenever you bring in a huge company like Meta is, yes, they say 5,000 jobs. What you don't think about is it's not just the construction jobs, it's the administration jobs, it's the C-suite jobs. They're going to need our people to help fill their positions, which means that we're going to have to backfill those positions with more local people. So there's about to be a great need here in Northeast Louisiana, and I'm glad that each and every one of you got to hear about that firsthand and experience some of that. We also had a chance to go tour Louisiana Tech and Grambling, where we got to hear about all the great things that they have going on, as well as hear from their chamber and how they're working together to grow Lincoln Parish as a whole, which includes Louisiana Tech and Grambling. Louisiana Tech definitely shines in forestry, biomedical engineering with some new devices that help with traumatic brain injury, which was pretty cool. Also hear from their postgraduate that was also that was on the panel, and the Blue Blood Points, which I thought was a really cool idea that Dr. Henderson had to incentivize students to attend all of the student events by giving points that they could cash in for swag. With Grambling, their students were also amazing. My gosh, what they were studying was so very, very impressive. The Call Me Mister program is always one of my favorites, and we really enjoyed getting to spend some time with the Graham fam, and it truly does feel like a family there. One thing I continue to experience with each and every one of my campus visits are all of the amazing students across Louisiana. We really have a lot to be proud of, and we want to make sure that we can retain that talent here in the state. We'll have more campus visits coming soon, and I can't wait for all of you to join me. Next up, members, at our October meeting each year, I announce the nominating committee. The nominating committee brings a recommended slate of officers to us during the December meeting for the board's consideration and approval. The members who I'm appointing to the nominating committee are as follows: Regent Meyer, who will be chair, Regent Temple, Regent Finley, Regent May, and Regent Shamea. Thanks to each of you for your willingness to serve and for your leadership. This is a very important committee. We look forward to receiving your recommendations at our next meeting in December, and that concludes my report.
All righty.
On to the commish.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I want to echo and ditto what you said about a fantastic visit. Thank you for inviting us to be a part of this amazing community and the great work that's happening. So very proud of that. Thanks to the campus leadership and students and all the economic developers that we heard from to really help us. LOSFA, I just want to say this has been a major lift. As you know, we had a cyber incident in September. We've been working diligently daily to bring all of the systems and the operations back up safely and securely. Our chair, Elizabeth Bentley-Smith, Karthik, Chris, and Uma have been on daily calls, sometimes twice a day, updates to try to make sure we have everything done appropriately and securely. I also want to thank, on behalf of myself and the chair, State Police, GOSEP, OTS, and LOSFA's IT team and the full team for all of the work. And so we will continue to update you as we have updates on where we are in this process, but the start accounts are back up. People can do their transactions. As was mentioned, this is a $1.8 billion program, 88,000 accounts, 40,000 plus account holders. And so we've been working really hard to make sure that we have a good sense of this. We've talked, as you know, about cyber incidents, cybersecurity over time, how this is ever present. So you have to harden your programs, you have to be resilient, and you have to think about your systems. But we have a fantastic team, and they've worked really hard to make sure that we got the programs back up safely and securely. You have two reports at your chair because there's just never enough reading for you as regents. The first one you heard Tristan mention, which was the Alice report. We used the information in the MJ Foster report that you received and approved, but I wanted to mention this particular item, which is in this report, and the report looks at asset-limited individuals in every parish of our state. But this graphic, I think, really speaks to why we do the work we do. We're so focused on the work that we do. 50% of the households in Louisiana are financially unstable. And so you know that we've had 50% of our population in Louisiana that has a high school diploma or less. Now at 47% in the new master plan. But if we don't get people in the education and training that they need, we will not get them out of poverty and into prosperity. And so I just wanted to make sure you had a copy of the Alice report. I know Entergy and others have supported this report every year. And so it's just important information that we have as we think about how to address the demographics and the reality of our state and our people. The other report that you have in front of you is the Policy Institute for Children report. I tabbed this graphic that they shared, which looks at the cost of education, early childhood education experiences versus four-year college tuition in 5 major markets. And you see in every market, according to the 2023 data, the cost of early childhood for children is more than the tuition at the four-year institution. And you've heard many people talk about childcare as a workforce challenge and a workforce need in our state. And so we are blessed to have, I think, 19 campuses that have early childhood centers on campus. We would love to have universal access to affordable childcare on every college campus, but this is why we work so hard to have on-site childcare. Because we need to make sure that these things are available to our students so that our people can have access to the education and training that they need. So just wanted to share those 2 reports with you before I step into a big brag with Regent Reeves, who I am told gave the best keynote speech ever for a Lewis Users Conference. And so she had an opportunity to speak to the librarians across the state at the conference. And the thing that was amazing was that she talked about her role as an accidental librarian. So she has gone from librarian to a program lead to a CEO of 2 nonprofits and now vice president of Ochsner. So it was exciting for them to hear from one of their own who has kept climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing and doing amazing things. So thank you so much, Regent Reeves, for that. You must talk with her about that speech because it was fantastic. I've heard so much about it. And then finally, another big brag. Tristan Denley is absolute rock star, right? One of one. Yes. And so I want you to know that Tristan was invited and just spoke at the World Education Forum 2025 in New York City. And he told me that there were lots of people there, but also it was broadcast into 17 other countries. So Tristan is talking about our work on a global stage, and people are listening and paying attention, and of course, always eager to learn more from Professor Denley himself. So just really, really proud of Tristan's work and the good work that's happening here. So proud of you, Tristan. So, Madam Chair, that concludes the report.
Amazing work. Is there any other business to come before the board? All right, hearing none. Members, looking ahead, we do not have a meeting in November, so everybody gets a little bit of a break. The December convening will be a 2-day meeting in Baton Rouge, starting the afternoon of Tuesday, December 9th, with the board development session, followed by a board social. We'll have more details to share on that soon. On Wednesday, December 10th, we will begin with the joint Bessie meeting, followed by the Board of Regents committees and board meeting. Doreen, do we have any public comment? No, ma'am. Hearing none. I move to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
So moved.
So moved. We've been motion and seconded. Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned.